Alrighty, welcome back to another short and simple no-code tutorial. Today we're building a simple AI-powered consistent character image generator app using FlutterFlow for the front end. Here we are using Replicate for the AI model, in particular this model here by this person called consistent character. And then we'll be using Supabase for the image storage. So before we get into setting it all up, we'll do a quick demo of the app that we'll be making. So we've got a dark and light mode here. We'll upload an image and we'll go with female portrait. So this is the same one that is on the Replicate website. As we upload that, got it here. And then for the prompt, this is optional, but what we will do is just type in this one here, just to keep it consistent. Type in the prompt, generate images, and this will start loading. Takes around 3 minutes, so we won't wait around for that. So we'll do a little skip. Okay, so it's finished loading. It's generated 6 different images, all looking very consistent to me. Okay, so we'll step through now how to set it all up. Okay, moving on to FlutterFlow. So I'm not going to go through setting up all the UI. We're just going to cover the actions and the logic, all that sort of functionality. I am, like the previous one, going to share this, make this model public so you can kind of download it and see for yourself everything that's going on. But to start with, so we've got the home page, we've got a row. Within the row, we have 2 main containers. We have the sidebar on the left and then a container for the main content. So we'll start with the sidebar first. So we've got a upload image button, a prompt button, and then a generate images button. So the upload image button, we will head over here, see what the action flow is. Actually, I made this mistake last time. First, we'll go to the what page parameters we have set up. So we have a couple here. We have prediction loading. So this is just a Boolean set to false initially. We have image uploaded. Again, a Boolean initially set to false. We have an uploaded image URL, which is a type image path nullable. That's going to hold the URL of the image that gets uploaded to Supabase, and that is used to display the image, the kind of the uploaded image, which would be displayed here, and also is used for conditional visibility logic as well. And then we have generation complete, which again is a Boolean initially set to false. So now we have an overview of the page state variables. We can head back to the upload image button, open up the action flow editor. We have a simple workflow here. The first step is to head to Supabase and connect this. So we need an API URL and the API key. So to do that, we head to your Supabase project, go to project settings, go to API. So we are copying the URL here, pasting it in this section, and then we're grabbing the API key, which is here, pasting that in there, then click Get Schema. That should load up whatever tables you have set up in that account. I only have a profiles table set up. But once you have that, then you should have extra functionality options on your UI builder. So coming here, now you should have the upload type Supabase option. So you want to click Supabase. Here we want to name the bucket name and the folder path. So that is just, if you head to your storage, this is the bucket, and this is the folder path that we're using for this particular one. So you just get those names and just type them in as they are on Supabase. So the bucket name is YouTube. Just for me, yours will be different, but whatever it is, type that in there. Same thing for the folder path. Type that in there. Leave all this the same. And then following that, we've got 3 different update page state module. So the first one is the generation complete. What we're doing is setting that value and setting that to false. The next one is the uploaded image URL. We're setting that value and we're finding that value, pulling that value from the widget state and the uploaded file URL. So that is from this widget here. So this button, whatever URL is associated with this action, that's what that information is here. So upload a file URL, widget state, upload a file URL. So that's that one. And then the final one is image uploaded. We are setting that value to true because this whole flow is we're uploading an image to Supabase. So now that that image is uploaded, we can set that to true. Okay, so that's the upload image button done. The prompt is just a text field prompt. Nothing kind of crazy happening there. The information that gets passed and that will be added to this from the user will be passed into the API call, which is going to be triggered from this button. So if we click on the generate image button, the action flow editor, this is an overview of what it looks like. So my previous one, I did the API call through BuildShip, but this one I've just kind of provided how to do it just through FlutterFlow as well. There's benefits obviously to doing it on BuildShip and having these things separated, but just to give an overview of how to do it within FlutterFlow as well. So this is the workflow. We will dive into that in a bit more detail, but before we do, we'll set up as you can see in here, there's 2 API calls that we're doing. A make API, a post request, and then a get request. But we will set those APIs up first so that that workflow will make more sense. So heading over to the API call section, there are 2 API calls that we are doing. Okay, so the first one is a post request, and this is a make prediction. So just quickly, we're setting up some variables. There's a JSON body that we will add some variables to, and then there's the header. So to get this information, we need to head back to replicate. First, we need our API key. So you just head to API tokens, copy that, and paste that. And actually, hold up one second. Skipped a couple of steps. Okay, so to find the information that we need to set it all up, doing it through FlutterFlow, it will be as a HTTP. So we click on this option, and this is the information that we are looking at. So this is the URL that we can copy and paste in here. So this is the API URL. As you can see in here, the type is post, so update that to post. And then we can have a look at the structure. So there's 2 headers, and then this is the body. So the headers is authorization and then bearer, your API token. Next is content type application JSON. So in here, we set this up, paste in your API key. I'll change this later, so no stress. And this one's the content type application JSON. So those are the headers. Now moving on to the body. So this is the body that we need to set up. So what you would do is basically copy that. So click just on the left-hand side of that, hold down Shift, click here. You'd copy that in, or copy that, and then head to body. And you would paste that in here. So we'll do that now. So you'd paste that in there. As you can see on this here, the prompt and the subject is hard-coded. So for us, we would actually pass that through as a dynamic variable. So to do that, we would head to variables and set those up. So the first one is prompt, type string, list false, Name for the second one is subject. Type is image path is list false. So once you define those, when you head over to body, you'll have these options, and you simply just kind of drag them into the corresponding place. So you delete the hard-coded prompt string, and then you'd add the prompt variable, and then this one you'd delete the subject string and replace that with this subject variable. So once that's done, you can then come over to response and tests. So we'll do a little test to see if this is all working. And so we'll do that now quickly. We'll do that, and you will see that we get a response here. Got this information here, and then importantly, we get the ID of this particular post, this API call, or this make prediction requests. So if you come down, it gives you a list of all of these paths you can save to easily reference in FlutterFlow. So it gives you a bunch of different ones that you can save. The only one that we're interested in is the ID, and I've already saved it, but for you setting it up for the first time, you'll see an ID path. You would just click add JSON path and give it a name. I've called it ID, and then we are good to go. You'd save it. So that's kind of step one. And as you can see, if you come back to replicate, if you go to dashboard, you will see that it is running, and that ID would match this particular ID. So 1 a.m. ends in 1 a.m., ends in 1 a.m. So the post request triggers the model, and now the second API call that we need to do retrieves the output of that model. So to do that, we head to get prediction. This particular one would be a GET request. So GET. The API URL is the endpoint is the kind of the same. All we're doing is adding a query parameter, which is this here, which is the ID. And that ID is going to be passed through from this effectively. So what we do, so do that the same, it's the same headers, same authorization content type. We come here, the variables, set the variables up. So we'll name this one ID, we'll call, the type would be a string. Head to the query parameters, ID from variable, and select the variable, which is ID. So what we will do, we'll head to response and tests. We'll just head back here and we'll wait for it to finish. Reload. Because pretty much it only will get it once it's finished. Otherwise, there's nothing to get. We'll actually give it a little bit more time to load up. But to test it, we need to grab the add a value for the ID. So we'll actually grab this value, this ID number here. We'll add it to, actually we'll just do a previous one so we don't have to wait around. So this is one from previous one that we had run. We'll paste that in there and we will test the API call. And as you can see, it is successful. And if you look at this, this is the stuff we want. So this is the output, and there are 6 different image files associated with that. And if you come down to the JSON paths here, the one we are interested in is mainly, actually we need all of these, actually, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so we'd save the output, would save the input number of outputs, and then we would also save completed at. So these are the ones that we save, and these are the ones that we would reference in the action flow. Okay, so that's all good. So we've got the post request, we've got the get request. Now we can head to this button, and this action flow should make more sense. So the first step is to make the first API call, which is the post request. So that would be API call, and then we only have two APIs set up. This one's going to be the make prediction. And we call them predictions because that's how they're referred to on here. So making the prediction, and now we've got two variables to work with. And so we need to pass in the prompt information and the subject information. So for the prompt, this one is coming through from the text field. So we would come here, we would go to widget state, we would go to prompt text field, click that. So whatever's in that will be passed through as that prompt variable. The second one is the subject, and this is going to be passed through from the page state. So as talked about earlier, we had one page state that wasn't a Boolean, and that was this uploaded image URL, which is an image path. So we're passing whatever images associated with that page state will be passed through for the subject variable. And then the conditional action is just basically has this API call succeeded. This is the default kind of conditional action. So if you were to kind of do this manually, you pretty much would go to the action output, make prediction, and succeeded. So they generate that kind of automatically. If it doesn't succeed, we will have an informational dialog which just says failed. You do a better version of this kind of like in a proper implementation of an app, but this is just for bug squashing purposes, I can actually just know that it failed. If it succeeded, then it goes down this route. Now there's a few things happening here. So the first thing we need to do is set up a periodic action. So I've called this API checker. And this, whatever nodes, whatever flow is within this periodic block here will run every five seconds or whatever, will run it however long you've specified here. And the reason why we do this is because the post requests, like the model, we don't know how long that takes to complete. And we kind of need to check. We need to kind of run that get request and kind of periodically to check whether the output is there or not. And so because we don't know exactly when it finishes, we just have to kind of to do this until there's something there. So that's the reason for this. I think it's kind of like polling an API or something like that. So we start the periodic action, set it to 5 seconds or 5,000 milliseconds. The next node is prediction loading. So we're changing that page state. So we need to, so prediction loading is true because we've started the model, that prediction process has started. So now we can set that value to true. And pretty much what that does is it sets up the conditional visibility logic for the loading animation. So whenever this page state is prediction loading is set to true, then that loading animation will become visible. After that, we trigger the second API call. So we get prediction, the variable ID, and we're passing the value we're passing into this variable is from the previous API call. So to get that information, you'd go to action output, would go to make prediction, you'd go to JSON body, And because we have defined this path already, as kind of discussed earlier, where for the first API we predefined one path, and that was the ID path. So we've already set that up. So we've predefined it. So we'll click predefined. That predefined path, we've only got one, is ID. And so that's what we want. So whatever that value is will be passed through to the second kind of follow-up API. After this, there's a conditional action. This one's different to the succeeded one. So we want to change this condition. So if we come here, we go to action outputs, get prediction. We're going to JSON body. We're going predefined path. And the predefined path that we are referring to is completed at. And what we are checking is it set and not empty? So I'm going to quickly go back to the API because there is something that I need to mention before I continue that flow. So when you save this path initially, it is just it's not a string, it's not a list, sorry. And if it's not a list, there's probably like a simple fix to this, but when I set it up, I couldn't figure it out. But if you save the completed at path as just a string, then you won't have this option. It will be blocked out. So in order to have this as an option to kind of for this condition, you need to come back to here, and then the completed at, you want to change the type to, so keep it as a string, but save it as a list. So now that it's a list, when we come back to this conditional action, it should come up as an option to select. So now we'd select that, and again, just click to, is it set and not empty? And all that is doing is, when you come back to this API call, this is just providing information around, that gives a string, which is there's like a timestamp. So it gives you a timestamp around when that whole prediction AI model process has completed. So if there is a timestamp, that means it is completed. And so if it is completed, that means that the images are available, if that makes sense. So that's the reasoning there. So we check to see if it's completed, and we do that check by seeing if the completed at path has a date in it or not. If it doesn't have a date, then it will come down to this pass. It will return the value as false. And okay, so just real quick. So this one, if the completed at is empty, so there's no completed date or there's no completed timestamp, then it'll go down this pass of false. That means that this whole process will trigger again in the next 5 seconds. Come down again. Is the completed at field empty? Is it set? If it isn't set, false. And then we return to the top and start this process again. Gets to this, is the completed at field set? Is there a timestamp there? If yes, then we can kind of move down this path. So assuming it's set, we move down this path, we update the page state prediction loading. We set that value to false because it's not loading anymore. It's completed. So we can set that to false, and by doing so, that loading animation will become non-visible again. And then the next node is generation complete. Set that to true. And as we'll see in the next part, that will trigger the kind of the completed images to become visible as part of some conditional visibility logic. So set that generation complete to true. And then finally, we can stop the periodic action because that whole process is finished now. And then you terminate it. And that's the workflow. So we close that. That's the most kind of complex part of all of this. So now we can move on to, these are just relating to the dark mode and light mode. Just real quick, all they're doing is, you'll see this if you clone it, but what's happening is you just, when that container is tapped, it just sets the dark mode setting to dark mode or light mode. That's all that's happening there. So we can collapse the sidebar. We can move on to the main content. So the main content there's a stack, and within the stack there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different things, and we can kind of load them all up. So first we'll step it through kind of what you would see as a user. So the first thing we have is a grid with kind of hard-coded images in it. So these are just examples from the Replicate website. If you kind of come down here, there's some examples there. There's better ways to kind of visualize this, but this is just kind of like a quick kind of setup. So when a person loads this up for the first time, they'll see the sidebar, they'll see kind of an example of what maybe they could expect if they use the app. The conditional visibility on this, there's 2 conditions. So if you move to the side here, click conditional. What we are doing is, you can see here. So the first condition is related to the image uploaded page state variable. Is that equal to false? So the second value is just false. So is the image uploaded false? And the second is, and also is the generation complete equal to false? So if both of those page state variables, image uploaded and generation complete, if they're both false, then this, I'm calling it examples grid, will be shown. So the next one is, once someone uploads an image, they should see this one. So this is another grid, and these containers are just kind of hard-coded in. But this first one would be dynamic, and that would be whatever the user uploads. So if we click on the image first, we will see that the path for this is from the page state. So the page state uploaded image URL. So whatever the uploaded image URL page state value is, that will be displayed in this particular image. And then as you can see by the eye, it also has conditional visibility logic. So if you come to the top, it's conditional. There's 2 conditions related to the image uploaded page state and then also the generation complete page state. So the same as before, but the first one is image uploaded equals true. And then the second one is generation complete equals false. So if there is an image uploaded, but the generation hasn't completed, then show this grid, which I've called uploaded. Okay, so once they upload an image, they'll see this. And I guess the next step is they click generated. So once they click this, as you can remember from this workflow, at some point we change the page state prediction loading to true. And when they do that, this column, which just includes a Lottie animation and a text field and a little text widget, will become visible. So this Lottie animation is just the default one that they have on there. If you pull in if you add a Lottie animation widget, so I just kept that the same. Then a text widget. just quickly on the Lottie, you can go to the Lottie website and use whatever Lottie animation they have on there. You just would find whatever that path is and just paste it in there, and then it will change. But coming back to this level loading, it is conditionally visible as well. As you can see here, this one, there's only one condition. So this one is the prediction loading equal to true? So when they click this button, at some point in the flow, they change that page state prediction loading to true. This will become visible. And as you can see, this one actually remains the same. This loading one is just kind of stacked on top. So you'll see both of them together at the same time. And then the last one is the output. So let's just remove the visibility in the UI builder for those. And then we'll change on this one. So this one is whatever the final output images are from running the model. This one is, there's a couple of things we need to kind of set that up properly. 1 second. So we'll click on this. We've got these little things here. So we need to set this up here. We do a backend query and then a generate dynamic children. So the backend query, so at the level of this grid, which I've called output, come to get prediction, do we API call as the backend query. The API call that we're querying is the get prediction, and kind of that's the extent of the backend query. So we're just querying the get prediction API. Second step is we now need to generate children based on the information from the get prediction API call. So we will name this output, and the value of this output is going to be from if you go to JSON body, we go to predefined path, and the predefined path is output. So we're going to generate children based on the values of whatever's in the output path of the get prediction response. So that output path is an array which includes multiple images. So that whatever's within that output array will be generated dynamically as part of this grid. So that's that. If we come down to if we kind of open this up, within the grid, we have an image widget, and we just kind of pass in the first image, and then the rest are just kind of ghosted out. So they're ghosted out because the number of these images depends on the number of values within this output array. So that's why they're kind of ghosted out. But we come back to image. We need to define what this image will be. So to do that, we come down to the image path. We click on this, and we want to pull this from, so here, this little generate children little icon. So that's the same as, that little icon there is the same as this, is the same as this. So that's what that's referring to. So come here, path, output items. Oh, hold up. Oh yeah, and we just click that. Yeah, so we just click at this level, output item. And then whatever that output item is, so the item within that output array will be kind of generated, will be passed through into this image widget. So that's kind of that setup. The last one is just the conditional visibility logic. So if we come up to here, conditional, yes, there's only one condition, and that is the page state generation complete equal to true? If that is equal to true, then show this output grid. And because of the conditional visibility logic of the REST, when this generation complete is true, the other ones are not visible. And I'm pretty sure that's everything. So yeah, I will share the clonable version of this on the YouTube description, and yeah, that should be the rest of it. I'm going to do a follow-up from this because there is a new model that was just recently relaunched from the same person, where they use the Toon Crafter, I think, model, which takes a bunch of images and then turns them into a animation, and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to do a follow-up of that in the next little while, whenever I have a spare moment. But thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, comment them in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.